With the Carolina Panthers on a couple of weeks hiatus before we officially kick things off with training camp at the end of July, there are several questions that the Carolina Panthers coaching staff needs to put in place. Preferably, what will be the 2025's identity? Well, according to this analyst, I kind of think the identity that the Panthers had last season works just fine. Don't believe me? I'll give you the reasons why and how we can even be better than last season. Stay tuned to find out how on Growlin' and Prowlin'.
Welcome back, all you growlers. Thank you so much for joining us here on another edition of Growlin' and Prowlin'. Of course, I am the one and only Mr. CeeLo hosting the show, and I hope you guys have been doing well. I've been extremely busy. Husbandhood has a way of doing things to you, but I am still back with one of my first loves. Thank you guys for checking out my reels and my shorts. I hope you guys enjoyed them, and judging by the new subs that I've been able to accumulate, you have. But let's kick it off, shall we? I hope you guys are doing great because it is boiling up here in hot Georgia. But drop me a line down in the comments, you guys. Let me know how you're doing, and hopefully everything is good your way, because we are about ready to get some pigskin rolling. Because as you know, it's time for us to leave our mark. So if you guys didn't catch that short or that reel, wherever you saw it at, we have a new slogan for 2025, which is leave our mark. But we're still going to keep pounding. Now, with that being said, let's handle a little business. I need you guys to remember that we are getting very close to that 200 mark. And guys, once we get there, I've got the shirt nearly designed. As I keep saying, I'm getting it together. I need to get it on print. I've got the type of shirts I want to use. It's going to be just about like this. I love Under Armour shirts, so it's definitely going to be on one of those. And I definitely want to make it where you guys can be proud of it and be able to support Growlin' and Prowlin', and hopefully buy some for the family. But let's get into it. Let's take care of a little business. Terrell asked, who are your top 10 players on this year's team? Well, Terrell, that's a very good question. And I was going to answer it, but then I got to thinking. I went, I'm going to save that for a show. So I'll do a show before this summer is over with, and I'll give you who I believe our top 10 players on this year's team are going to be, and more than likely they're going to have to show up and show out, and that's not including rookies, because we don't know what they'll do. But I will give you the possible couple of guys whom I feel are honorable mentions that will have to step up as rookies. Some of them are going to be obvious, and then there are going to be maybe one or two that are going to be not so obvious. And I'll even give you two guys who have to take major steps in their either in their second, third, or even their fourth year in order for this Panthers team to be successful. And we'll get into that in one of the questions, how successful the 2025 Panthers can leave their mark. William asked, do the Panthers need to take a safety in free agency? Or do the Panthers need to add a safety in free agency? What my gut is telling me we might need to, because we've had discussions with Justin Simmons, and many of you guys out there have probably heard that we have been in discussions with Justin Simmons since free agency started. And I think what we've been watching in our OTAs is that Lathan Ransom has really been a surprise, and I think the coaching staff has been exceptionally pleased at what he's been capable of doing. I've heard individuals on Locked On Panthers and Panthers, even Gant out of Panthers.com say that Morgan as well as Ichiro Rivera has been exceptionally pleased with what they've seen out of this guy. So it could be very well possible our starters are Lathan Ransom and Trevon Moehrig day one. So don't count that out. I'm not saying that's where I would go. Me personally, I would see if we couldn't work a deal with Justin Simmons and see if we couldn't somehow work Lathan Ransom in at a later time, if you know what I mean. So that's my take on that. I do think we need to add Simmons, but I think what Morgan's going to continue to do is to try to drag that salary cap money over to the next season so that he can have enough, because I believe that Bryce Young's going to get paid in the next 2 seasons, and I think ultimately the Carolina Panthers don't want to have to go back to the drawing board and have to go through the process again. And then Dave Canellis and Bryce have really started to develop that kind of connection that a quarterback coach needs to have, and you see it now going to be a struggle for CJ Stroud. Hopefully it's not, because many Panther fans, you guys know I love CJ. It's tough when you go from a guy who's been your coach for 2 years and then all of a sudden he's gone, or a year and a half. But see, now Bryce has got a year under his belt with Dave Canellis. And now we're going to see, and we've heard Dave Canellis say that there's some things he's unleashed to Bryce now since he's gotten comfortable with the system. And now there's more things that he wants to do, little gadgets and little movements that he wants to do that they weren't able to do. They're talking about moving guys around more. And really, I can tell you, I can't remember the last time we had any kind of offense where that kind of movement was happening. We saw a little bit of it last year, and we saw some of it the year that the final year. We saw a little bit of it during after Frank Wright was let go. But theoretically, we got a lot of athletic pieces. So needless to say, it really needs to be a situation where the coaching staff and Dave Canellis can get really creative, and this could become a very interesting season for the Carolina Panthers, especially given what the topic of tonight's show is.
Who cares?
Finally, Chuck asks, can the Panthers win the NFC South? Absolutely. I truly believe this division is wide open. The Panthers are literally the middle of the pack when it comes to strength of schedule. I think. Now I'm not going to say you can guarantee the Saints are going to be 2 wins, because anytime you get a team like that, and we have been in that position for the previous couple of seasons, anything can happen. You can't walk into a game already assuming that the other team is thrown in the towel. When they look at a team like this year, the Panthers are going to be what a lot of the underachieving teams are.
What?
We're going to be the team that everybody's going to say, hey, look, they're not quite there yet. Maybe we can steal one. Now, on paper, the Panthers look like they could win at least 10 to 11 games.
Stupid. Stop the cap.
Yeah, I mean, and I'll go down the schedule on one of the shows before the season starts. But arguably, I've went down the schedule, and I've said that the Panthers arguably could win 10 to 11 games. That's not optimistic, that's realistic. Because when we look at what show I'm doing here tonight, I'm going to give you a lot of reasons why the Carolina Panthers could have easily been a 10-win last year. Because the many Panther and analysts have already brought up the fact that the Panthers played the Chiefs tough, and we played, notably, the Eagles tough. And arguably should have won both of those games. But what I'm here to tell you tonight is, what are the 2025 Carolina Panthers' identity going to be on offense? Now, that leads us into the show. We can talk all day about Tetairoa McMillan. We can talk all day about Mitchell Evans and the pass rushers we got on the outside. This being one of those teams that could be a high turnover type team, high sack team, throwing it down the field to Ted McMillan or T-Mac. But ultimately, I hope Dave Canellis remembers a lot of the games we lost was because we abandoned the run. Now, I did some research, you guys, and many of you guys understand that that's what I like to do on Growling and Prowling, is I like to bring you guys a lot of facts. I like to bring you guys a lot of opportunistic facts. And the Carolina Panthers were 26th in rush attempts. And you have to look at the fact that we ran the ball 410 times. And we averaged, most people don't realize this, the Panthers averaged 4.6 yards a tote. Now, that's not up there with the Bucks, almost 4.95 yards a carry. But when you look at what balance, I give so much credit to when I look at, let's say we were to get that number around where Buffalo was, at 491, at 2230. If we can tote the ball 490 times, and see, we threw it 547 times at a 62% completion percentage. Now, we know that number's going to go up. And I'll tell you why. Because this year, and you've heard it from many sources around the league. Yeah, you still got some doubters out there, you know that. You know, that are not keeping an eye on the totality and landscape in the NFL, because we're not considered part of the contending groups. We're going to have to earn that. But the point is, when you bring in a guy like Tetairoa McMillan, and then you bring back a star in Jatavian Sanders, and then you bring in Mitchell Evans, a guy who I'm excited to see these two tight ends on the field at the same time. And I remember hearing somebody say the type of slot guys that we have, from the Jimmy Horn Jr. to the Adam Thielen, even to the Hunter Renfrow. You've got a situation where, and I've even heard somebody say that Jimmy Horn may be a return. They're probably going to take this guy and make him a reserve returner. They're not going to necessarily keep, 7, 8 receivers on the roster, but he'll be returning kicks. And then what they'll do is they'll be able to keep Hunter Renfrow. But the funny thing is that they could go to a double tight end, and then in the the next snap, you could bring out Hunter Renfrow, put him in the slot, put in Adam Thielen in the slot, and then turn around, take out Adam Thielen, and then throw in Jimmy Horn Jr. And then, not to mention, you've got T-Mac as well as Xavier Legette, and boy, we certainly forget about Jalen Coker. And I remember hearing somebody say, well, I think Jalen Coker probably was a one-hit wonder because we needed someone and he was there. No, I don't believe in that at all. I still think the Panthers, and I said this on one of my previous shows, the Panthers right now we have an influx of riches at the wideout position. And as much as we did need a number one, I thought we had a bunch of really talented guys on this roster already. To me, when you sit and you say, well, Jalen Coker was an undrafted guy out of Holy Cross. Well, how many guys have we found that were undrafted stars that turned out to be pretty doggone good? I mean, the NFL does not always get it right when judging talent. But then it's also an attribute to the coaching staff as well to be able to recognize these talents as well. So you got to give guys like Dave Canellis and Dan Morgan a lot of credit for being able to see this talent and put it out there. But back to the running game. When we look at when the Panthers won most of their games last season, now we're going to look at that Atlanta game and we're going to say Bryce had 5 scores in that game and oh yeah, it was this, that, and other. Look, I'm not saying Bryce can't be that dude, Because we already know Tepper wanted a quarterback. That's why he said Teddy Bridgewater wasn't that guy. He didn't feel like Teddy Bridgewater could lead a team and win a game. But he was the only guy in Panthers. How long has it been?
Bruh.
Since we had 2 wide receivers for 1,000 yards? Was it Muhammad and Smith? You had Robbie Anderson, who was Robbie Chosen at the time. Robbie Anderson at the time, but he's now Robbie Chosen. I don't even think he's in the league. Not in the league, is he?
Bruh.
And of course you had DJ Moore for 1,000 yards. See, people forget Teddy Bridgewater was pretty doggone impressive. You got 2 receivers over 1,000 yards. And I'm going to be straight up honest with you. We do not want to have to go through the process of getting another quarterback. I think Bryce is the guy. I think right now, with all the weapons that the Panthers have around him, of course, Tommy Tremble, we're hearing that he's making some strides. He could be back in the mix. I think we've got 3 arguably really good tight ends. And many of you, like I've said before, I'm a Notre Dame guy. I know what Mitchell Evans can do. And if Dave Canellis gives him that free reign that Kansas City gives Travis Kelce, good things are going to happen. And I'll tell you something else. Mitchell Evans also understands how to get open. If he can teach Jatavian Sanders and Tommy Tremble how to manipulate those zones, our tight end crew is going to be excellent. Don't sleep on Mitchell Evans, you guys. I'm telling you, this boy is a baller. You like Jatavian Sanders, but you'll love Mitchell Evans better. The guy makes a one-handed catch every season. Go back and look at the film at Notre Dame. He is going to be a steal for us. But the reason why I say our tight ends, you can argue we've got one of the best tight end rooms that nobody's talking about. Because if Dave Canellis does what I think he's going to do like he did at Tampa Bay, which he was only there for a year, if he gets to a point where he starts putting multiple formations in, and this is what I'm seeing from this team, you guys, we're not going to see a whole bunch of wide open, throw it down the field stuff. We're going to see a lot of misdirection stuff. Canellis is going to want to run the football. And I'm going to tell you, you're going to see Xavier Legette getting that thing. You're going to see Jimmy Horn Jr. getting that thing. You're definitely going to see Chuba Hubbard getting that thing. But then I'm seeing Ricky Dowdle and Chuba getting anywhere from 200-plus carries. I would even argue to say that you might see Chuba get 300. Because you're not going to tell me that when you got Robert Hunt and these guys playing the way they did last season, and then you got Ted McMillan on the outside, and you got Xavier Legette, then as I said, you got Jatavian Sanders looking to have a breakout season. There have been several articles that are pointing to Jatavian Sanders having a breakout season along with Bryce Young. But I'm just not sold on the fact that Dave Canellis is going to make some of the fatal mistakes he made last season by abandoning the run. I truly believe this season is going to be the year that he sticks with it and that this team throws the ball down the field. Because, guys, whether you realize it or not, the teams that were able to stop the Panthers were teams that were able to keep us in a box. And the teams that were able to slow us down they weren't able to cover Legette and Coker down the field. And I think now with Bryce being more aware of what Canellis' offense is like and where guys need to be in certain instances, this is just going to be a match made to leave his mark.
Is that your best?
So when we look at the Detroit Lions and Green Bay Packers, respectively, each team ran the ball. Well, you got Detroit ran it for 534 times at 2,489. And what's really amazing about it is how many times they threw it, which was 554. That's the kind of balance you would love to have as a football team. And I chose Detroit because the reality of it is many people don't realize that they do have 2 backs. You know, you think about Sonic and Knuckles. I got a feeling we're going to be coming up with a name for Dowdle and Chuba. Rico and Chuba. You know, I will say this. I was not happy about the Rico Dowdle selection because I did want us to go back to one Deontay Foreman because he presents a different dynamic. When those two were together, oh my goodness, it was thunder and lightning. Donald's a big player, but he's not Deontay big. But I truly believe if we can establish the running game as the formula, Ted McMillan, Xavier Legette, Adam Thielen's probably just going to be more of a supporting role this season, a coach's role. I would see Hunter Renfrow as well as Jimmy Horn Jr., not to mention Jalen Coker. And then you got to throw in our 3 fabulous tight ends. They're going to get their dues. And I'm telling you guys, you're going to see 40 catches across the board for each of these guys. Bryce is going to probably complete anywhere from 67 to 72% of his passes this season. Baker's completing 71. But the Panthers' identity needs to be running the football. I know everybody was talking about getting Tet and everything, from Tet to Jimmy Horn to Mitchell Evans. We still got to run the football and keep pounding. Let me know what you think. Are the Carolina Panthers going to have their 2025? Are the 2025 Carolina Panthers going to leave their mark by pounding it? Or are they going to change their identity and truly leave their mark in not only Panthers history, but the NFL history? Leave your comments down below. Make sure, it's been a while since I've been over to the page, but don't forget, I still pay attention at you guys when you put comments and you make suggestions over at Growlin' and Prowlin', the group, as well as Growlin' and Prowlin', the Facebook page. Also, visit my Instagram at Mr. CeeLo so you can keep up with all the shenanigans that I will be caught up with over this hot summer. But until the next time, keep prowling the airwaves and keep growling out. Keep pounding.